What about the slot machine thing where they were down for a while?
The slots were so hot. Nobody's seen people play that hard and that fast.
So what, it blew out the slots literally?
They blew apart. We had machines
Was it like too much water?
They were
Fuse?
virtually on fire. It was like a fuse or like a fire.
By 1989, Forbes estimated his net worth at $1.7 billion. And for the last half of the decade, he'd gone on a spending spree. He bought a second casino, Trump's Castle, the iconic Plaza Hotel in New York, a Palm Beach estate, an airline, a yacht, and the largest tract of undeveloped land in Manhattan. Trump captured the story of his success in the book, The Art of the Deal. Tony Schwartz was the co-author, a decision he now regrets.
From the very first interview, it was very clear that he had an exceptionally short attention span, easily grew impatient, and was going to be incredibly hard to interview at all.
Schwartz said he had to find another way.
Sometimes you got to know who to go to as opposed to whatever. But
So Trump let him listen in on his phone calls for months.
Is there any call that sticks out in your mind, or are they all blended?
Yeah, there is a call that sticks out in my mind. It was a call with a contractor. And he's going, "You son of a, if you don't, I will, and I'm telling you, you'll never work again in this city." Boom! And he slams the phone down, and he turns to me, totally relaxed with a big smile on his face, and he says, "You think it worked?"
Schwartz says that much of what he heard Trump say was false.
I came up with this phrase, truthful hyperbole, which is, I called it an innocent form of exaggeration. Now I can call something that I actually sold for $2 million, I can say $10 million, and that becomes truthful hyperbole. The problem is that there is no such thing as truthful hyperbole. The truth is the truth. Hyperbole is a lie. They don't go together.
But that didn't keep the book from spending almost 1 year as a New York Times bestseller. Still, there was one more thing Trump wanted. One of the biggest casinos in the world.
He was going to do whatever he could to get the Taj Mahal.
And after months of complicated negotiations, he did.
And my telephone rang. And he said, "Marvin, didn't I do a terrific deal?" And I said, "I think you did a great deal, but I think you made a mistake."
You said to Donald Trump, you made a mistake.
I said, "I think you made a mistake." And he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Why own 3 casinos in Atlantic City? How are you going to differentiate the marketing?" And here was his comment: "Marvin, you have no vision. This is going to be a monster property."
That needed monster financing. Trump said it wouldn't be an issue, telling gaming regulators
that the bankers were waiting in line to lend him the money, and that under no circumstances would he resort to junk bond financing.
But the banks weren't standing in line to lend Trump money, so he resorted to the very junk bonds he had said he didn't need.
How big a risk did you think he was taking?
Enormous risk. To be able to make this project successful, to break even, you'd have to generate a casino win of somewhere over $1 million a day. And no casino in the world had ever even come close to anything like that.
Rothman told the Wall Street Journal he saw trouble coming.
I said, when this property opens, it will break every record in the book. But when the cold winds of October came, it wouldn't make it.
Trump wrote a letter to Rothman's boss. Threatening to bring suit, Trump presented them with a simple choice: fire Rothman or make him publicly apologize and lie.
Trump said, "Marvin, you're to call Norman Pearlstein." And he said, he's the managing editor of the Wall Street Journal. And you're to tell him that that SOB reporter misquoted you. And then you're going to write me a paper. stating that the Taj Mahal is going to be the greatest success ever, and I'm going to have it published.
Rothman refused.
Trump responded saying that I'll see you in court or something. I was putting a tarnish on the Trump brand. That's anathema to Donald Trump. You don't do that.
And then you were fired.
On the spot.
Trump never sued, but Rothman did. 9 months later, Rothman settled for an undisclosed amount. On opening night, the Taj was promoted as the 8th wonder of the world.
The building is a tremendous smash. Everybody wants to see it.
And see Donald Trump.
Donald! Donald! It's Trump! Donald! People rushed to him to touch him, to touch his shoulder, to touch his arm.
It was the biggest bet of his career.
Thank you.
He was the magic man. Anything he touched turned to gold. So even with the Marvin Rothmans of the world projecting that this couldn't work, there were very many people who believed that it would. And Donald Trump kept assuring everybody, don't worry about it. You got nothing to worry about.
Coming up, Trump nearly loses it all.
How close was he to going personally bankrupt?
Very.
Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City, one of the biggest in the world. Lots of glitz, glamour, and stagecraft. But behind the curtain, serious problems.
When I went there on opening day, it was a mess.
Alan Lapidus was the architect for Trump Plaza.
I mean, you couldn't find your way around without a guide dog, which is not good for a casino.
And Lapidus says the Casino Control Commission had issues too.
They shut down a third of the slots. The slots are the prime revenue producer of the casino. To shut down the third on opening day was both humiliating and financially disastrous.
It really was a breakdown of monumental proportions.
Jack O'Donnell ran Trump Plaza for 3 years. He was there when the Taj opened.
Donald's answer to the problem was to immediately go in and shame, belittle, and berate, and demand firings in the midst of the chaos. And that's the last thing that a good leader does in that situation.
O'Donnell was ultimately tapped to restore calm at the Taj. Just weeks later, O'Donnell says he resigned. Trump says he was fired.
Donald is so wrapped up in hyperbole that it's almost constant lies. Something could go bad, like the opening of the Taj, and he would say, it's because we had so much business here that this happened. Not that the systems broke down, not that we didn't know what we were doing. We had so much business it broke down.
What about the slot machine thing where they were down for a while?
The slots were so hot. Nobody's seen people play that hard and that fast.
So what, it blew out the slots literally?
They blew apart. We had machines
Was it like
that
too much
they were
fuse?
virtually on fire. It was like a fuse or like a fire.
No one felt the heat more than Trump himself. With his life playing out in the papers, from his businesses to the breakup of his 12-year marriage to Ivana.
Every place they went, they were covered.